Oh shit! I'm so sorry. Okay, we have to do this all over again for those who are not. Oh shit! I'm so sorry. For those who are not on Discord, I'm sorry. Last stream there was a lot of lag in the end, so there was a lot of delay. So in the end I just muted the stream, so we could start talking and the stream could still run, because when I click on end stream, it ends on Twitch just a few seconds later, no matter how much delay between live and the stream is. Yeah. Okay. I shall repeat this then. I talked, for those who are on Twitch, I talked just about the horizon line and how it is actually not really related to the horizon. It can be the horizon, but it can just as well be something very, very much else. Like your horizon line also doesn't need to be in the middle of your canvas. It can be up here or down here. So, but all your images that you will ever produce will probably have only one horizon line. So you can have your actual horizon line be the horizon and stuff going on like this, and then until it's no longer visible. Or you could also have this horizon line be going in the middle again, basically you looking down into a deep hole. That endlessly goes on. Your horizon line has not really an end. It's an imaginary line. So this could also go up. We could look up into a big tower with windows and stuff like that. So has nothing to do with the horizon line. Next, you want to have on your horizon line, I hope you all have your pencils ready, is a point. The point in which you are looking. And now you want to have an object, of course, that you want to produce in show in perspective. For the start, we use here a simple cube. I would like to do all of this paleo art related, but for the very simple first lessons in perspective, you just use very simple geometric shapes. So we use here only one of these points on your horizon line, and now we draw a little cube starting with the front of your cube, which is just a rectangle or a square. No, depends on what you want to do with it. So with this single point perspective, it is the most easy way you can construct an image. You can do it with many different things, but here you have basically your surface that you are looking at the front, and from the edges here you draw towards the horizon line, towards that single point you set there, and then you decide, okay, how long do you want to make this cube? How cubular do it needs to be? So let's make it a simple cube like this, but you could also make it more like a rectangular tube if you want. And that's basically already it. Now you have your base shape, and from there you stretch towards the horizon to your single point and connect everything together. Important, these lines always still stay parallel. You don't have that towards, at least if that's the shape you're going for. If it doesn't go like that into the distance, it stays on target. Now you can not only do that, of course, with a rectangle, but let's make this rectangular shape, this cubular shape, into a house by putting on top a roof in form of a simple triangle. This again becomes smaller into the distance, goes towards our horizon line and our single point that we set there. And this angle stays the same. The one here in the back, not quite, because you now have this line running here to mimic, if you want to do this very mathematical and not go by eyeballing it, you basically take this square here and also construct it here in the background. And now you have the full angle there as well. You can construct the same angle here. You can also make this a glass cube, a glass house. Don't throw rocks at it. And now you see, it's a little bit off, but for the time it works. This is basically it. Now you can put all these other cool things in here. You can do this with other objects, like put in here some bushes, and then you can do this with amorphous stuff as well, having these helping guiding lines here to establish a perspective. But then you of course can come in here and construct more buildings from other sides. They can also go outside of your frame. And this way we quickly construct a little town for us here. Also, perspective, important, very, very important. It influences all parts of your image. Every image you will ever draw, if you want to draw it in a realistic way, will need perspective on all of its parts. It's just basic physics. Oh, true. This is also very, very helpful when you want to construct the mighty mammoth cube. I think we do this for the next one. Okay, I hope everybody got what I did. If there are questions, put them now into chat. Dino Rocker, yes, we will cover how to translate this to organic shapes. However, only on this stream, a little bit. This will be more something for another stream, because organic shapes in perspective is very difficult. But I can give you some guidance on this. Oh, so many little mammoth cube in chat. Okay, let us continue. Again, we have our single horizon line, but now we make it a little bit more difficult, because although you can work with just one point on your horizon line, in nature this never happens usually. You can do this for rather simple images, but if you have more complex things going on, you will need 2, oftentimes even 3 points. So you have, for example, 2. And again, we just begin with a box. In this case, we don't have, although we can also work with this, but if we want to construct a box, we can't now have this simple shape at the beginning, because if you want to construct a cube with this method, from this perspective, that would already be it. Because when we look on it from top, looking here, and here's the observer looking at here, you see there is nothing left and right to observe. So, oops, I'm working apparently without layers. Doesn't matter really. Let me do this again. Horizon line, 2 points for a 2-point perspective, and now a cube, starting with single line that has is basically the edge of one side of it. And now we are going down here and here, up there, and put in, again, these are parallel lines. That's important towards the horizon. It doesn't suddenly go like that, only because it goes into the distance. Nope. These lines stay parallel to the initial line we placed. Also now we want maybe to make this a glass cube again, and in this case we draw a line from this corner here all the way over here, and from this corner all the way over here. So we have now here a cross where both meet, and we do the same for top and here. And of course, because I don't use mathematical systems or something, it's all a bit wonky, but you get the idea. Now we have our glass cube. The same is true for everything else we would place on this plane. And here you can also observe stuff working with 1-point perspective. Again, you can have both working. For example, this object here is in front of this point here, but it might face a little bit to this side here. So get over here, and now we have I might have done this wrong. More like this. Gets an idea. Okay. Okay, yeah, on top it seems to work, but yeah, it's more like this. Should be more like this. Yeah. And same also with stuff like let's put, for example, a good thing, let's put a pyramid on top. Now you want to know, of course, where would be the middle of the pyramid, where does it go up, and you get that by this stuff is bothering me. Let's get rid of it because it looks like crap. Add again. So you want the middle of your square base, basically, of your rectangular base. You do that by doing this to figure out where in this rectangle that is disturbed by perspective the middle is. Then you can just go up in parallel with this side here, and then decide, okay, where do I want to put the end of my pyramid, and then just go down. There we have a simple pyramid roof on top of our little glass house here. Same goes, of course, for stuff we put in, like let's put in a big gate that let's zoom a little bit in. Let's put in a big gate that goes up to here and over here. So for the upper edge, of course, we look at our line here, and now we have the frame of it. But now we not just want to make it two-dimensional, because it's not just a sticker we put on our house, but it's going deep inside of it. For that, we come from the other side. Again, look, it's all influenced by the perspective, and go deep inside of it. Here on this side, this is not. Let's make this wall light gray to make it a little bit more easy to understand. Then let's go in here. Again, all these straight lines that go up, also this one goes straight up. Let's see here, is there maybe, because we are over the horizon line here, we might, and our and the horizon line is on eye level, we are looking under. We see the underside of the big doorway here, so bloop. And so it goes inside. And we add a little of shading to it. And already you can see there it goes inside. You can do this with everything. Like, let's put in a window. Again, a simple frame. Whoop. Connect to your dots here, to your point on the horizon line. Also on the lower part here. So you see here the where you can put all little things. I don't know how it's called in. I can't remember how it's called in English. I knew it once. Whoop. Like this. And see, we constructed a big window with 2-point perspective. So I'm erasing a few parts here. It's always good if you do this on paper to make all these lines with a very hard pencil, or with very thin lines that you can easily get rid of again. Especially when, I mean, I no longer need these perspective grids. They are no longer important to me because I looked at perspective for so long that I have this stuff here figured out in my head. There is still perspective where I need references, where I need perspective grids. It still happens. But it's usually extreme cases with extreme foreshortening and so on. So as long as you, as your brain hasn't completely figured out how it works, it's best to have these little helping guiding lines and perspective grids to guide you. Okay. Are there any questions? Okay, I don't think we have any questions. Very important, these are just things that might be not very intuitive to everyone. I have seen art classes where many people struggled enormously, even with a simple single point perspective. But that so sometimes it's just that you need to do it a lot to really wrap your head around it, or you it can be even the case that you just can't wrap your head around it. There are people, I have met people who never really got into perspective and who will always need a perspective grid and mathematical precision basically to figure it out. What Nick said, practice makes progress, indeed. That's why I can only give you here an introduction, because many things you will need to figure out for yourself. Next thing we will do is looking at 3-point perspective. And for that, we will have to break with something that I established earlier, that all the points of perspective need to be on your horizon line. For 3-point perspective, that's not necessarily the case. We put in our horizon line now, and 2 points of perspective, but now we add a third one up here. And again, we begin with a simple cube. You can also, by the way, when it comes to 3-point perspective, you can also work completely without a horizon line in certain cases. When you have something like a free floating object, for example, it can be totally enough to just have the points. So we put in a line, and then we connect things. And we put in our lower edges here. And now from here we connect to the top. Whoop. And you begin to see the shape we are going for. We are standing at the bottom of a skyscraper. And here, where these little guiding lines meet, we begin to connect things. Now we have a little skyscraper with people running around here. Oh my god, it's so big! Look at it! And we can make it maybe a little bit thinner down here and add something on top. So you can add down here a little marker and basically stretch up through the first cube so you know where to go. Add also something in the middle here. And now it's basically has a step in it. Okay. This is now the highest point. We go down here, up, and bring this in. There we have the Tower of Babel in all its glory. Yes, the Mammoth Cube monolith. Please don't forget to add little tusks everywhere. Also for the tusks, you can do this of course with round shapes as well. Let's do this on a... I did not do this on a different... Let's bloop. Imagine here's a different file. Horizon line, 2-point perspective. Let's put in a tube instead of a cube. But we begin again with a cube. And I shouldn't rush this, but I do. Shame on me. Look, I'm doing my own stuff wrong. Wup, 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 wup. So, and this will be a tube. Now, to get this to be a tube, you again come in and figure out the middle. And now you can estimate roughly how you have to distort this whole thing to get in something circular. And then, whoop, you can once more go in here and connect the dots. And then just shade it or put in lines to indicate volume. Now you have a tube in perspective. Or a worm. This is a great example on how you can draw sandworms. All hail Shai Halud. Okay. A little bit of shading in here so you get a better understanding of the volume. You can of course also do this with 4 points. In theory, there is no limit on how many points you can add on your horizon line or otherwise. When I, for example, want to look at the same time up and down, I'm having 4 points here, one up there, and then I add this, and maybe I'm standing here, and then I connect this to look up, but at the same time I'm looking down. And usually you would do this with curved lines now, because your vision isn't really good with straight lines. I mean, we have eyeballs at the end of the day, not eye cubes. So it's all oftentimes, when you have these extreme examples, distorted by your vision. So you might look at this group in a pool, and this is a reflection of it, which is also something, when you want to draw reflections, you have to keep in mind the perspective. For example, I have here a cubular building, and I'm standing on or I'm flying here with a helicopter, and it's standing in water, in clear water, or on an enormous mirror. The reflection will also be distorted by perspective. That's just how light works. But enough of that. We wanted to do something with paleo art related at the end of this. But before we do, has anybody questions? Oh yes, Cal. Distortion because of the way water works is very, very common. Water in general, painting water and everything that counts with is extremely complex, because you have water can behave very differently. It can be still, it can be calm, it can be moving in different directions. There can be different densities of particles in it, so it is less or more transparent. It can be more or less reflective depending on where you stand and how much light hits it. It is extremely complex, and I'm not even wrapping really my mind completely around this. It really, really difficult. Bless the maker and his water, indeed. Giraffe cube, yes. Oh, but neat. When you do that, keep in mind the ossicones on the giraffe would also be distorted by perspective. Okay, for a last thing here, we will draw the head of a T-Rex in perspective. I'm quickly looking for good reference here. Maybe let's use a T-Rex skull Stan. Stan has usually good skull references. Let's see what we can get. Oh, let's... I think it's even better if we use this one. This is not a photograph, but it shows you without any perspective the skull of T-Rex in dorsal view and in lateral view. I'm also putting this in chat. This image, and also a link in Twitch chat, I think. And the important part here is that you are looking that the way the skull of T-Rex is structured, because what is very important to remember is what we also did in the proportions session to break things down. For T-Rex, the easiest way to break things down is put things into boxes. And the nice thing about T-Rex is it has a very boxy skull. Especially in dorsal view, you can see around the eye area, the skull widens a lot. Because it has binocular vision. And also here we can have a box and a little bit smaller box. Let's just do the upper part of the skull and leave the lower jaw out for now. We are again putting in our horizon line with 2 points at the end, and we're having a middle line here, and now we're putting in 2 boxes first. First, the smaller box here, and we use here the middle basically as a point where both boxes will meet. Let's put in a rectangle for the box, which should be, that's, I think, a little bit, it should be a little bit higher than wide. You can see here that the skull is not as wide as it is high. Again, remember what you have learned in proportions. Now we go in here at the lines and elongate our rectangle forward. And then we decide where it should stop. Put this in, this, and then look at this angle here, which should be the same as this one. And do a line down, go to the point here, and you have your box, which is a front part of the, I messed up here. This happens when you don't work with precise tools. I mean, I could also do it with some very quick lines without even this grid, but I of course want to break it down to you. See there, whoop. There, we have the snout region now. No, I forgot for a moment that I should have this corner go down here. Yep. And now we add the bigger box behind it, which is, let's figure out here the middle again of this one, and then let's go up a little bit. Say we go up to here, go down, and then add a line on top. Look at the skull again. Okay, how much goes the skull out here? Eyeball that and go down a little bit lower than the edge of your first box, and then bring it in again here. Then bring box down over here. So now you have one surface of your box basically, and again we are adding lines, and now you look at, okay, how big is your snout region compared to your post-orbital region basically, and you put that to use in your box. There's a lot of eyeballing here involved because we are messing with organic shapes. It makes things always more complicated. But now you have basically your T-Rex skull in a box. If you put a T-Rex skull in shoe boxes. Of course, this is not really looking like a T-Rex, so what I'm doing here now is making this very faint, this wool boxing, and go in and look again at all the different details of the skull. Also, it's good to figure out the middle of these boxes here on the side, because then you can go into your reference. Look, where are here the middle parts, and then you know where to put these on these boxes. So the very front here, also let's put in same over here on the side, because this way you know where to put the snout tip, which goes down, and then when you look on top it goes that makes it easier to merge these. See here, it basically meets the box roughly here. So same is true here on the other side. You can again go here to your point on the horizon line, and here roughly your jaws meet the ground. Here's a nose parts, roughly here in the middle. It's going down. You can also here on top have this basically, and here you have then your T-Rex snoot. Put in some nostrils. Look at how the jaw here follows your box for some time, but then curves up, only to go into this new shape here, which is the post-orbital region, where you have this big jugal boss suddenly squeezing a little bit into the corner of your bigger box there. Similar, you have here on top these bosses over the eyes or behind the eyes. But first, let's give it a contour. Now the middle here, like this roughly. That's a little bit too early, like this more. And then the orbit would be a little bit roughly where we have our corner here, looking at how we are looking in this direction here. Here would be our orbit and behind that in the corner the boss over the orbit. We have these two more triangular structures here, so they that flange out, so they come up. And we have also a little bit the lacrinal here. It's a little bit obscured by my lines, but there is a little bit of a hornlet in front of the eye as well. So here, this depression here, there's where the ear is going. And of course we have the same thing here on the other side, where you would see the tip of the here's the bigger box goes here, and here you would see the bulge over the eye. Okay, then you put in your fenestra and some big teeth. With these teeth, it's not as important to get everything with the perspective right, because you are in a way already guided by the way you put in your the rest of the skull. And then you are basically done. Now you get a little bit of it helps to get a little bit of shading in. Like we have here the dark side of the skull, and because skull flanges out here like that, you have this side basically even being a little bit darker. So get an idea for the shape. You can also, if you are doing this digitally, just make the overall canvas a little bit darker, and then can put in some highlights when the light is coming from above, for example, in this case. And here the boss gets a little bit of light as well. So you can put in an eye facing forward, important. The eye too is influenced by perspective. You see how I put in here in the eye, and on top of that I put in here the eyelids, and they are also influenced by where we put our points on the horizon line. And that's how we get a T-Rex without a lower jaw. But you can see you have some distortion here where the snout is bigger because it's closer to us, and how the skull here gets a little bit thinner towards the back because it's further away from us. And you can do that with everything on a T-Rex or any other organic object. I'm putting here quickly in the lower jaw without any help of the perspective grid. So you get an idea of where this could go. And that's basically it for today. Let's see if there are any questions. Fang, no, we did not just make a Tyrannosaurus skull in Minecraft. Although you can use Minecraft sometimes as a reference, because it's all cubes. And also in Minecraft, cubes obey the laws of perspective. Ah, yes, Akio is in chat and he loves the perspective. Akio is one of these people who never really learned perspective. He's one of the cases I talked about. But it happens, and nobody can do anything about that. Okay, if there are not more questions, and I think you are still all working on your T-Rex, I think we end the stream here, and if you want, we look at your work and talk over it. Okay. And of course, this recording will be on YouTube later today or tomorrow. We will see. Okay. See you all next time.